For some strange reason, YouTube is becoming really poor with this kind of thing. It used to be easy to do live streams. Now it gets faffy over what orientation it is, and it's still telling me the orientation is wrong. Have we got anybody down? 35 seconds in. Nobody's joined. I'm not surprised. Everybody's buggered off because I keep on messing about with things. Hello, everybody. We've got one person. Hey, we've got somebody. Excuse me. I'm just booting this up. Hello, Craig. Hello, Adam. I'm just booting this up. I seem to have a problem every time I want to do a live stream. The orientation of my phone. Can anybody see me correctly? I'm not like that on your screens. Let me just get in. That's about right. Nope, I've got nothing on my screen whatsoever. Wait a minute. It's my laptop, isn't it? My laptop's a bit slow. Okay, I can't really see what's going on here. Just bear with a second until this loads. It seems to be taking forever. Oh, hold on. Delete that. Excuse me, I'm just going to get rid of that. I seem to have created two different live streams. Ah, that's what I've done. Okay, that's exactly what I've just done. Sorry guys. Oh, there's about 11 million different messages there. Sorry, what I've done is I've created two different live streams, and I've just gone onto a live stream where there's nobody on there because you're on the other one. There we go. Hello everybody, and I thought I would do this since I have the time. I rarely have the time for live streaming these days. I tend to just concentrate on making tons of videos when I can, and I prioritise that as well, amongst doing jobs on my new acquisition, which has taken a lot of my time as such. But anyway, I hope you're all good. And just a general hello from me for a while. I've got this message. Orientation is locked. Please rotate the... Oh, my phone's telling me something else. But as long as you... Ah, there we go. I can see myself. Now I am facing the right direction. Hello, Craig. Hello, Adam. Camera is correct. Brilliant. Fantastic. Hello, Dave. Engelman. Good to see you again too. Absolutely, Dave and D, hope you're all good. I'm definitely all good, my friend. Thank you very much. It's straight, but I'm sure the image is reversed. It is reversed. I don't understand what this is about, to be honest. I've got a feeling it's because I'm using the front-facing camera and I have to reverse it back round. I don't know if I can actually do that. What? Actually, 2 seconds. Ah, right. So now we're facing the back. Now, excuse me. Oh, go away. That's a little bit better. Right, that is much better, but it's not quite there actually. Oh, there's a massive camera angle there. There we go. Right, so it's because I'm using the front-facing camera facing me, and for some reason, I've done this loads of times in the past. There has been no problems. If you look at some of my old live streams, that's the way I've done it. Now I can't see the camera at all. So I'm afraid I appear to be quite a long distance away, but it doesn't matter. Oh, you've got a nice view of everything else in my flat. Anyway, sound and picture. Well, that's good to know that the sound and picture is good. Hello, Kieran. Hello, my friend. Well, no, Craig, front-facing cameras don't actually, because as I said, if you go back to my early live streams, I've always used the front-facing camera, and now I'm using the back-facing camera, which is why it appears that I'm so far away. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is unreversed because it's in the normal direction. I'm using my rubbish phone, which seems to want to die. Hence why I've got it permanently plugged in. It's actually, my phone is not a mobile phone now. It's a plug-in phone, because as soon as you take the cable out, it will go from 100% to about dead in about 6 hours. So I have to have it plugged in. Terrible. Technology. Right, yes, of course. So the new car, this is weird. This is a weird camera angle. Actually, I'm going to mess about with this. I'm sorry. Maybe that might have affected it slightly. Yes, the new car. I wanted to keep that under wraps for some time. Only about 6 or 7 people knew about the new car. And that's the way I wanted it to be. And the less people that knew, the better, and the less pressure that was on me, really. It's a bit like, I don't know, when you're taking your driving test, telling the least amount of people will aid you to get through the test without any pressure. The last thing you want to be doing is telling people when your test is, and everybody's saying, good luck, you'll be fine, you'll ace it, you'll smash it. And there's a ton of pressure on your shoulders, and you don't want that. And I didn't want that around this time as well. So it was a good surprise to keep. So there you go. It's been a bit of a journey, but the timeline, as I explained in the video that I did, that you've just seen, it was about 2 months between Beatrice's last journey with me, basically, and me purchasing this car that I had only seen a week before the accident. Ironically, the timeline is very much when you saw the estate, Mr. Inc., as he's going to be called, on this channel, when it was in Jason's possession for the timing belt, and I did a couple of nice videos, as you enjoyed, last month. That was done 2 weeks before Beatrix's demise. And I very much enjoyed that car more than I could ever have imagined. I had the car for 5 weeks. Jason left me. Oh, hello, Jason. Sorry, I have seen you. Good evening, my friend. Jason's Moving TV Collection. Yes, that is the famous Jason that I named in the video. So yeah, so I enjoyed that week. I enjoyed it so much. I thought, yeah, but I've got Beatrix. It makes no difference whether I enjoy this car or not. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not, it's Jason's car. And that's the way I felt about it. But nevertheless, I really did enjoy driving that. I wasn't initially going to do a review on the car. I was merely going to do a video on how to change the timing belt and what common engine issues to look for in the engine bay department, as I've done in my really early videos. Apart from that, yeah, I didn't intend to do a review, but I did, on the basis of this is such a nice car to drive, and not many people have ever driven a 2-litre Focus, let alone an auto. People wouldn't think about driving the auto. So, and it coincides with my channel of, being an automatic only zone, almost literally. So I was quite pleased to do it that way. And then obviously the job was completed. I'd done the videos. Jason, you obviously came to pick the car up. And I was pretty sad to see that car drive away. But me and Jason obviously shared a small conversation, which I'm sure you don't mind me saying, Jason, that even though I had Beatrix, if you were to sell or want to move the estate on, would you give me first say? And the answer was obviously yes from Jason. But I knew deep down that that wouldn't happen unless something happened to Beatrix. And, I was, in my mindset for getting Beatrix done the week later at the body shop. As you know, not a week later, it was meant to be done 3 weeks after Jason had left with the estate. And it was booked to do the roof and the paintwork and the windscreen. It was all booked. And then obviously what happened a week later was the accident. And the very first thing I thought about amongst the emotion of the day was, where do I go from here? Because my attention was very much, I don't want this. I'm not, it wasn't even in my mind to keep Beatrix at all, or to buy it back. It was never in my thoughts. The car's dead. It died that moment on that street, unfortunately. So I had to think about my next car, and there weren't many options. And if you remember, I will come to the next comments. If you remember, I did a live stream, which was, I'm stuck with older cars. Has anybody got any suggestions on what to look for? I can't remember the title of the live stream, but it was around November time, I believe I did it. And that was when I was a 2-car person. And there was a very good reason why I did that live stream. And it was just to see what other people saying, what cars after 2005, because that was my cutoff. Where do we go? What do we do about, well, the long termness? I can't keep owning cars just from the early noughties. I need to move on. But what cars are out there that really are good enough? And I think everybody else who is a car enthusiast probably faces the same thoughts. Some people have found decent cars in the early 2010s, but it's hit and miss. And that was the purpose of that live stream. Unbeknown to you as an audience, that Beatrix was dead and buried. So there you go on that one. But I had it very intentionally clear that the next car was going to have to be a Focus Mark 1, because I'm in charge of the Preservation Club, and I feel that the one thing I can't do, which I've done on your car, Nick, I've just seen your comment, Nick, I hope you're good, my friend, is I can't do certain jobs. So on Nick's cars, I've done a load of jobs on Project George, and George has been amazing, and I hope it continues to be amazing, Nick. But there are certain jobs I can't do on George because, Nick, you need to come and go. You need to get out of it and go back home and go to work. You can't just leave me a car for a few days unless we planned it in advance, and I don't have the space really. So there's so many jobs I can't do on George that I would like to do because of the time of you've got to come and go. And there's so many things that could cause a problem. Some jobs just take days because of a seize bolt. You know that old tale, a 1-hour job becomes a 6-hour job with a snap bolt or something along that line. It's no cliche. So I was thinking there's so many jobs that I have already done on 50 Shades pre-YouTube, but I've yet to do. There's a gap here, and I can't cover this with just Project George and any other Mark 1 that gets put in my direction. Because again, the same problem will be, if it's not my focus, I can't have it on my driveway for very long. We have a very busy household here now, and Mr. Ink will be on the roads most of the time and only come on the driveway for work. She's presently on the driveway having some work done over the next 2 days, and then it will be back on the road again. Mainly because I'm already taking a space up with Ruby, and there's a lot of cars in this house. People are quite understanding, but I can't have cars staying here. So this was just obvious, and there was only one car in my head. It had to be that estate, and bingo, we made it work. We cut a deal, me and Jason. So Jason, I am awaiting your Focus to come to me this week for a lovely cam belt change. That'll be another 1.6 timing belt change. I won't be videoing that, guys, because I've already done it on Nick's cars. For some of you who are not aware, I've had about 4 people come to me for cam belt changes, and this will be the 5th, and I've already got 2 more lined up. So lots of cam belt changes on petrol Mark 1s. Yeah, I tend to do that as for certain people, put it that way. But anyway, I'm going to go through to the comments, but that was kind of what I can't say in the episode, okay, for those who are interested, because otherwise the episode will be longer than typically any of my other Yap Yap episodes. A Brown, nice to see you taking on the Focus estate. Can't be many of them left now. No, there isn't. There certainly isn't. I think it's only the saloons that are rarer. The saloons represent probably not even 5% of what's left, probably about 5%. And the estates also probably about 5 to 10% of them. The rest are hatches, 3 and 5 doors. The painter and decorator car thing is very much a thing with the estates. Everyone I see has got some sort of wood strapped to the roof and paint cans in the back. I mean, they're great workhorses, and that's what people use them for. But can we have a few that actually look decent? And you know, the next episode you're going to see in 4 days' time will kind of show some fantastic examples that I've seen, and one of the best estate I've ever seen, to be honest. And I don't think anything will come close, being that it's so rare. But also, it's very rare to have the versatility pack in an estate. So for those people who are not familiar about the versatility pack, it was an option on facelifted Mark 1s from 2002. I think the brochure dates from March. It was a March brochure, that one. And it was available on hatchback and estate, not saloon, obviously, just hatch and estate. To get them on an estate is quite rare. And the nice thing about the versatility pack, and this is something that I haven't covered before, that dog guard, that net, that is completely unique. And thanks to Jason telling me something I didn't know, that net was missing when Jason bought the car. Now that net is so cool. I have it up all the time. That net is unique to the estate versatility pack. It was not fitted to the hatch versatility pack, by the way. You couldn't get it with the net, but you could get it with the estate, and it's not the same one that you could get as an accessory. So some people got it in their estates as options or accessory. I think it was an option, and that net is a different shape. This one covers the gaps a little bit more. I'm not sure why. And Jason, I still don't know how to this day, how lucky you were to find one, because that makes that interior, that when that net is up, it makes it feel like a van from the back. It actually makes me feel like I'm separated from the rear of the car. And I feel that's a really good thing to have. It just makes it feel like it's not a common estate. It's a bit different. But how on earth you managed to get one from a Breakers, I never know, because I don't think you'll find another one ever again. So I've got to I've got to protect that and be very careful. So there you go, full marks to that one. But yeah, very rare cars indeed. Hey Mohammed, big up fella, replaced alternator and AUX belt easy. Much thanks to watching a video of yours. Well done. That is exactly what I want to hear, that a video has actually helped at least one person, and you've successfully done it, and you've saved a load of money. Well done. And that's really good. Was it a stretch belt, by the way? Because that's the only belt I think I've done, really. Yeah, so was it a stretch belt? Easy enough. You have to take the alternator out anyway to do it properly, but I've never used the tool and it's never caused a problem. Adam, it was a nice surprise seeing your new Mark 1, Mr. Ink, same as like my Mark 1, which is called John. Lovely. Ink blue. Lovely colour. And this is another thing, and this is why I loved that car the moment I saw it. I have bought in my car career, obviously, a black Focus, which is such a heavy duty car to keep looking good. A Mexico brown P6, dog poo brown to most people, not a desirable colour. A Moondust Silver ST170, briefly, and a diamond white Ruby, and a Starlight Silver Rover 45. You get the picture here. These are very modern colours, but I've never had a colour that's vibrant, and I just like blue. You know, blue has always been my favourite colour. I always loved the sort of like Wedgwood blue. I tell you what same colour. This radio, if you can see the colour, Wedgwood blue, lovely. I just love like classic colours like that. But this blue is deep, inky, vibrant blue. It's honestly, I've just given that car the Andrew detailing clay bar, wet sand, polish, TLC all over. And yet, you know, it doesn't get rid of all the little tiny dents everywhere, and nor does it repair the bumper. The bumper and the boot will be professionally resprayed next year, when the car's done 12 months under my ownership. But the rest of it looks amazing now. It's come up several levels. I think I've not seen an ink blue as nice as it when it comes to the vibrancy. I have to say, the orange peel is unbelievable. That's factory paint, and I can, as I'm wet sanding it and polishing it back, I can see the orange peel is just all over the place. Even 50 Shades did not have that problem. 50 Shades is, oh God, whoever applied the paint on 50 Shades, 2002, did it right, but by 2004, they were slapping it on. Excuse me. Hi Nick, I'm good. I was just coming to your comment. I'm very good. How are you? I'm busy, but I'm good. How's George doing? Well, how are you doing? That would be more polite of me. Oh, sorry, you've put George is brilliant, going strong, MOT, but for the 7th. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how that goes, but it should pass easily. We do need to discuss if you want to do a bit of body work on that car, rear arches, because I'll have to put you in touch with my body man. But you know how much it's going to cost, so if you save up for that, if you want to do that this year, you can. If you don't, if you want to just do mechanical bits and bobs, you can do that. What your budget stretches to. Craig, the saying is every 20-minute job is a broken bolt away from being a 2-day ordeal. Thank you. Sorry, I've made my own times up there. That was the exact cliche. It's not a cliche. It's so true. And as a professional, you probably, not quite a 2-day ordeal for a professional, but I'm sure there are some jobs that could have pushed the boat. Fancy telling the. You see, that's the thing with being a professional mechanic, is when you tell the customer that sort of a job will kind of take 5-6 hours, and then you're ringing them to say there's been some snap bolts, you know, like rear arms on a Mark 1, and then it ends up being a 2-day job because of this, and it's going to cost a bit more, and they're on the other side of the phone thinking, dodgy mechanic again, he's trying to extract money. But honestly, the genuine mechanics, they're the ones that will struggle, because the crooks of mechanics will lie through their teeth and say there's been a problem when there isn't, and that makes it hard for you. And then you get customers who don't believe you. But it's another story for another day. Adam, fair reasoning for wanting to get the estate for your daily. Yeah, well, as I say, daily shouldn't be the right word. My main car. I think that I keep saying daily. It's in my head. Main car. 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week. And I have been using it and it's been working. but I'm having to sort of plan the work that I can do in and around the functionality of the car, because I need the car to get me to work. And then when I don't need it, I've got a couple of days, I've got a 3-day block where the car isn't used. Let's do that job there and then. And I have to be very careful with my planning. But the initial jobs have gone quite well, but there's been a bit of a fight with a few things. Um, But the estate is an absolute no-brainer. That boot is like, because obviously the shock absorbers are mounted fractionally, sort of horizontally on the estate, are mounted differently. That you haven't got the strut towers, and you have got these acres of space in the back. It is a bus. And I have measured it. I can get a mattress. I can get easy a mattress in the back, and no doubt I will be using this car for my aim is to go and do the NC 500, and I never quite wanted to do something like that in Beatrix, but I don't want to use 50 Shades because it's too nice a car to take it on that kind of journey. The estate is perfect, solid car. Looks good, looks decent now, but it's got some rough edges to it. You know, a few dents and chips here and there. Perfect. That's the car that I'm going to use. And I may end up sleeping in the car, maybe the odd night. And I have the capabilities and space to do so. Just to save on hotel costs. That's the ultimate driving adventure. When you're not staying at a nice, warm, fluffy, cozy B&B with a bath and shower, it's in the back of the car, on the side of a road with a little gas stove, cooking some sausages or something. You know, you get the picture. And yeah, boiling your tea. Oh, I've lost it. If you need Mr. Ink preserved underneath, I happen to know an experienced restoration company. Aha. I'm afraid, Craig, I've beat you to it. I've already done it. It's just not suspension components. I'm well aware of the way. Well, I'll leave that for the first episode, actually. But I'm doing the easiest suspension jobs first, and then I'm whittling down to the worst bit. But it looks absolutely fine to me. Um, it does feel fractionally tired at the rear end of the car. I think there's a bit too much pitch and bounce of the shockers. But they're not bottoming out. There's nothing. There's no knocks and clonks. There's nothing. And the roads are pretty rubbish near me, so no. But yeah, I've already started on that, Craig. Dynax is the word. My estate was born in 2002, first round of the facelifts. Absolutely. It's quite rare to get a 2002 estates. They don't fare very well like any 2002 car. Facebook Marketplace is full of them. There's a lot of Mark 1s on Facebook at the moment, and a lot of cheap ones. The market seems to have gone like that. I honestly believe at the moment the only Mark 1s that do reasonably well on the market are relatively untouched ones. Everything else below 800 quid. That's what I've noticed. And 2002 cars in general, I've seen a couple of estates, but they're in really poor condition. And this is why people don't touch the estates, because they're just, yeah, they're just builders, decorators, cars, workhorses. Nobody really cares for them. The capacity is just unbelievable on them. I think there's a lot of estates of this age that were really good. I mean, I'm not being funny. The rival to the Mark IV Golf estate, very similar at the rear end of the car with similar backlights and a similar luggage carrying facility. The amount of space in there is ridiculous. I know someone with a diesel one, and that's a good car. That is as an estate. So the two are quite alike, actually. That's where the likenesses stop. Hello, Steve. How are you? I'm late to the party. Was this new car revealed? Did I miss it? Yes, you missed it. It's just happened. Go back and watch it, and then come back here. Um, da, 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 da. Hey, Mohammed, yes, sir. Stretch belt bloke quoted me 270. What was it made out of? Gold. That should never be 270. Probably around 200, but not 270. Got the alt for 35 and then Gates belt for 12. Was it a second-hand alternator? Just be careful about that, but it should be all right. And the Gates belt should be out. That's the ones I use now. I need to get myself a spare stud for the future. Yes, I've got a few of them because you got to be very careful when you put it back on that you don't snap it. Yeah, get a few. No problem. Keep at it. Very useful indeed. No problem. That is exactly what I do, and that's why I'm here. So please, thank you for that. I appreciate the feedback, but get some studs. It's the E-Torx, the stud with the E-Torx head. That E-Torx head rounds or snaps off. It's not the end of the world. You can use a stud extractor to get it back out if you need to get it out if you was to snap it. Nick, I'm going okay, just working, and I know it's a Focus Mark 1 stream, but I think I found the problem with Monty. This is a Mondeo Mark 3, by the way. Guys, Nick has got a Mark 3 Mondeo Gear X V6. Getting at the spark plugs was a lovely job, not. The rear ones. The front ones have been changed, but the rear ones not. Up in the manifold gaskets, I used a smoke machine to come to my conclusion. Did you buy a smoke machine then, Nick? Oh, if you had smoke coming out them gaskets, that's really good news. You can do that at home by doing that. Just be very careful with everything you take off. Take pictures and get some torque settings. Get a Haynes manual and find out the torque settings for the manifold bolts. Yeah. You'll be okay with that. That's good. We could talk about the meetup about George's rear arches. Yes, of course, absolutely. So good news with that. It was an air leak because it was behaving very erratically, and Mark III Mondeos have got exactly the same architecture as a Mark 1 Focus. I'm glad that the fuel filter that I changed on that car has made a difference, but it didn't make the difference, obviously. But yeah, that filter was awful. And the fuel filter on a Mark III Mondeo is much easier than a Mark 1. It's a bit lower down. Craig, Nick, that's exactly what I was going to do when you came up to me. Oh, the smoke machine. It was the smoke machine. Yes, there's a bedroom in an estate. Absolutely. Absolutely there is. That's actually why the first thought's in my head, strangely. Nothing to do with the car, just, oh, I can get a bed in there. I don't want to blow up one, though. I'll probably put a mattress in there. One of those single mattresses. Just in case something to do with fueling. Right. Hey, Brown, the next time you do an oil change, you should try some Amsoil Signature Series 100% synthetic 5W30. I'll put it in my ST170. It's much quieter, smoother, and again, extra cup of MPG out of it. I've got to be honest with you, I'm a bit skeptical about what sort of differences that would make with any of my vehicles, because the engine oil that I use in all of my cars as standard for the last 4 or 5 years is Manor. Now, it doesn't matter how expensive an oil is or what fancy name it is. If it is to spec, and these are to spec, they're all to spec, 10W40 for Ruby, 530 for the Focus, and it meets the WSS 913B. Now, the original was 913A, then it was superseded by 913B, which this meets. 913C it doesn't meet, but 913C only adds minor additives. So I consider 913B absolutely fine for my needs. 913D for diesels, Mark 1 diesels. Those are the oils you can use. As long as they meet those specs, there'll be no difference at all. So I'm a bit skeptical, but that's obviously worked for you, that has. So I'm pleased that is the case. I'll make a note of that, actually, AMSOIL Signature Series. Let me just make a note of that, actually. It's one I haven't heard of, to be honest. So just write that down while with the comments coming in. Hello, Tony. Sorry, mate. I'm just writing this down. Right. I'll look that up. Evening, my friend. Evening, Tony. Another Campbell customer coming up. I hope you're good, my friend. Well, what did you think of the new car, my friend? Yeah, I wanted to hold that close to my chest a little bit, give everybody a bit of a surprise, and it should be full of really good videos for everybody with, I mean, Mark 1s in general, especially anything to do with the estate bodywork. This is another thing, actually. Making videos, I've done most of my videos on the hatches because that's what's mostly around. I haven't done anything on saloons. I'm sure I'll come to that. And the estates. And I thought, well, this is brilliant because the estates have their own little niggles. And I did one video, which was a very unique thing to estates, a big problem that they can have, but you can fix it quite easily. More so than the hatches, even though it does happen on the hatches. And anything that's unique about the Zetec engine, I have to say, so far, my experience of that engine is, I think Ford, when they designed the Sigma with Yamaha's assistance, I think they did such an amazing job with that engine that they made a much more smaller and more powerful engine for its size, all aluminium, and improved so many areas that the Zetec engine was brilliant at. But there was a few shortcomings, and I'm starting to see them shortcomings. Mainly, I think it's just a bigger and first year engine. The comparison really is a 1.6 Zetec out of an Escort Mark 6. That's your ultimate comparison between the two. I don't think they're as good. I don't think Zetec engines are as good as Sigma engines. That's my first and foremost thought after owning this one properly and driving it properly. But it does have that zenith, that absolute small kick that the Sigma just doesn't have, even as probably as a 1.7 in the Puma. Doesn't quite have it. There is something special, but it's only at the top end of the pedal travel. When you are tootling around town or pottering around with no real effort, it doesn't make sense to have a 1.8 or 2 litre Zetec. I mean, for my purposes, it's a thirsty monster because most of my driving is around town, and that's not really what this engine is meant for. It's too thirsty, and it's an unnecessary drink monster. Whereas a Sigma is perfectly at home around town and can easily hold its own on the motorway when it's absolutely well looked after. So my initial ownership experience of this engine is Sigma engines are just amazing, and Zetec engines are amazing, but the Sigma just surpassed it. And that's my conclusion. Unfortunately, because the Sigma is confused as a Zetec because it's got Zetec SE written on it, people just think, oh, them Zetec engines, you know, the usual tale is, oh, them Zetec engines, they're amazing, aren't they? And people say that all the time when you're out and about. But do people actually mean the Zetec engine? Or are they referring accidentally to the Zetec SE engine, the Sigma? I think they're talking about the Sigma, personally. I think the Sigma is a much more better engine than the Zetec overall. But each to that one, each their own conclusion on that one. but after owning two with the same gearbox, so it's a fair test. Interesting. But many videos to do with that engine are imminently coming up. Hey Brown, I have videos on my YouTube channel on my mate's Audi TT on manual and AMSOIL. You can hear the difference. Oh, I'll have to look that up then. No, I'll have to watch them then. That's interesting. I'll have to see. I'll have to watch that then. I'm pretty cued into manual engine oil. Strangely, I'm chucking some in the estate tomorrow. Strangely, the estate is out there at the moment having a 12-hour oil drain with an engine flush. I don't usually use flushing agents. I haven't filmed this, by the way, because it's an oil change. But I have put some engine flushing oil inside that car, and it has got rid of a lot of crap out the system. I don't like using flushing agents all the time, but I've used it with Ruby, and I'm using it with this car because it needs a quick oil change again. And I'll tip some Manol 530 in tomorrow. Just as a more of a disposable oil, and then it will get changed again in another 6 months. And what I'll end up with, like Ruby, 50 Shades, and what Beatrix was like, engine oil that looks like water, even after 6 to 12 months. That's what you want, because then you know there's no rubbish in the engine. I don't think engine oil changes have been done on this regularly, judging by what I've seen, but it's not horrendous, it's just a bit dirty. I need to do an oil change on George as the oil is near a year old and the sump plug has got a bit of rust on the outside. Eh? Only the sump plug's got a bit of rust on it. You're joking? Sump plugs never go rusty, Nick. They're usually covered in an excess amount of oil because that's the last thing you touch. No. Change it, Nick. Change it. You can go for Manol 530. Anything that it has to meet. So it's Ford WSS 913B or C. 913B or 913C. Any engine oil needs to meet those requirements for Mark 1. Okay. So if you want to have a go, just change it. You know how to change it, Nick. You get a 13mm on there and change the filter. You probably have to get one of those vice grips and crush the filter and twist it, and that's it. It's at the front, it's easy. Yes, manual oil is not bad if it's fresh, 6 months at the max. I prefer valve line sync power. It's a lot of, they're quite expensive Valvo line, but I might go for something like that. I think once I've cleared the engine oil up for the estate, Mr. Ink, then I might put something better in. 50 Shades has been running on manual for years, and I had a comment at a car show from one of my mates that I was literally just idling into a field where their cars were parked, and I had the comment of, I couldn't hear your engine. I thought you were actually coasting in neutral with the engine off. No, the engine was on. You couldn't hear it. So I don't think you could get quieter for a Sigma. They always sound a bit tap, 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 tap. Just a little bit. Solid rocker, solid tappets. Yes, looking forward to the coming videos, mate. I'm pretty sure you are, my friend. So there's a lot to come there, entertaining ones as well. You've just caught up. Yes, Steve. Have you just caught up, Steve? I don't know. Did you watch it? I don't know. Adam, I'm good, thanks. Looking forward to the 1st of March when my Mark 1 nicknamed John will come out of winter hibernation and enjoy it again. Yes, I need to get 50 Shades out. Well, what I'm doing tomorrow, I've got to get that sorted with the oil. Then I'm going to drive the estate down to the garage and deliver a battery to 50 Shades, because we've had a few battery changes on the fleet. And I've got to move that car forwards and backwards about 20 feet so that the tyres don't get flat spots, because it's been 3 weeks since that car's been used. I need to get it out again. But all good, apart from a bit of spider poo on the bodywork. She's all good and dry. I suppose spider poo is a good sign that the car is nice and dry. You just get all this white stuff everywhere, and being a black car, I can just see it's like it's growing its own mold spores a little bit. Craig, all good here. Thanks again for the wheel. It looks brand spanking new. I don't know, have I interrupted a conversation now? I'll let you guys get on with that. There seems to be another conversation going on. Oh, Tony, you sold him a wheel. Right. Sorry. I'm now up to scratch. The manual in the TT had only done 500. I wouldn't use it for anything other than an engine flush. Well, to be fair, technically all my cars have engine flush. In that case, actually, if you go on that thought, my cars, 50 Shades, doesn't do any more than 1,000 miles a year, and I change the oil once. So technically, that's one long engine flush, if you want to put it that way. And well, the estate's going to do a bit more than that, so I'm going to probably keep changing the engine oil on the estate a few times. I'm not changing the oil filter, because I changed the filter in October when Jason gave me the car, and I did the oil before I did the cam belt video. So because the oil filter is in a shocking position, it's wet out there, I can't be bothered. I'm just changing the oil, and it's only done 1,000 miles in the last 6 months. So I'm leaving the filter on and just changing the oil with the oil flush. I am also using another product. Actually, I'll show you it, actually, because with the Zetec engine, it's not like a Sigma. It leaks oil a lot. It's a bit more like a CVH. I might as well show you this, because I'm not doing a video on this oil change. I've just got a few other jobs to do. But Zetec engines, whenever I've seen them under the bonnets of Mondeos or Mark 1 Focuses, they're just covered in oil. There's oil everywhere. And I'm thinking, why can't people just do a rocker cover change? I did. I changed the rocker cover when I did the cam belt, and it's still leaking oil out from the rocker cover. I don't understand it. It's just a little corner where it's leaking. It's quite annoying. There's leaks coming from the breather box. The gasket's gone, but I can't take that off until I get the exhaust off. The cat's got to come forwards for a start. So there's a whole host of things I'm hoping to do with that. But also, this engine tends to be weeping. Well, not weeping. Sweating oil from the rear main crank seal between the sort of where the bell housing meets the engine. There's just a bit of sweating of oil. So I'm going to use this product called, just get this in the camera, Andrew, Liqui Moly Motor Oil Saver. Okay, if you can see that. Sorry, my video is a bit, yeah. So this product, now I'm not one for snake oils, but I do think that these work if you've got small oil leaks. And I'm just going to read it out. It regenerates, actually, I'll just read this from the back. It regenerates the rubber and plastic motor seals and prevents oil stains below the vehicle, prevents blue exhaust smoke, prevents oil thinning, reduces engine oils and oil consumption. This can is sufficient for up to 5 litres of engine oil, suitable for petrol and diesel, can be added regardless of oil change intervals, and the sealing effect after 600 to 800 kilometres. In English, that's 400 miles. I'll give it a few months until I've achieved that mileage, but I'm going to try this stuff. I'm not expecting miracle cures, but I'm expecting that if my rear crank seal is sweating a bit of oil, I think that will do it. I think that will truly sort my problem out, and it might just replenish the seal enough to seal, because it's literally a sweat. And if this cannot seal that and it still sweats after 6 months, this is a load of junk. So it's a bit of product testing. Do snake oils work? Plenty of people say, yes, it's cured my oil leaks. Some people say not. It depends what it's used for. So, yeah, I'm not impressed. I've got to be honest, I'm not impressed with the Zetec engine. I think it leaks from too many different areas. It's not just this car. And by the way, the breather's absolutely fine. The first thing I took out was the PCV valve. I'll leave that for the video that I do, but there was nothing wrong with that valve. In fact, it was just as free as when I took it out. So yeah, probably me changing the engine oils probably got rid of all the rubbish, and the engine oil was even thinner, so it's probably going to leak even more. Oh, we'll see. Anyway, next week off work, I'll be installing new shocks and springs all round, and fuel pump too. Good. I hope you get on well with that. As I say, just do what I did in the video. You'll be fine, Tony. Preventative maintenance. We still have the aircon condenser to do. Plenty to keep me busy. Just, you're probably going to have to hang up the radiator while dropping the condenser pack off the radiator. It's a bit of a fiddly job because it's all in a pack of 2 or 3 pieces. If you got the power steering rack, I've got everything. Mine, front of this car looks like an absolute nightmare. I've got the aircon condenser. See, I've now got a Mark 1 with aircon. That's a first for me. And I've got literally at the front, you've got the radiator, then you've got the aircon condenser, then you've got the automatic transmission cooler, and then in front of that I've got a power steering cooler. It's absolutely ransacked with 2 fans as well, obviously, that you get on the aircon. It's absolutely stuffed, this car. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't want any of that to go wrong, because, oh my goodness. The condenser looks good, by the way. It actually looks pretty decent. Good luck with all that job, and I think you'll be fine. Just take your time, and if you hit a stumbling block, just go easy. Yeah, doing the filter on a Zetec is a fun job. I can't remember how I did it. I actually can't remember how I did it, but I couldn't use a cup. There was no space. I had to use my water pump pliers again to crush it, turn it, and then get my hand in there to twist it out. Nightmare. The filter on a CVH is better placed because it's towards the bottom and towards the gearbox, but this is it's in a corner. It's underneath the alternator. Tony, top tip for everyone: if you're changing the lower arms, then change the whole unit. I replace the bushes and the ball joints, drilled out, and boy, what a nightmare, never again. Yes, Tony. The other reason for doing that is I don't understand why people try and save some money on that, because if you're replacing your arm because the ball joint's gone but the bushes appear to be fine, no, they're not. If that ball joint has failed, the inner bushes will be very close to failing, so you change the whole thing. I've never understood this thing about replacing just the ball joint. And also, you gotta be careful, because those bolt and nut kit that you get with the ball joint, I've known it, if you don't tighten them down properly, the ball joint can shift in the arm. That's no good. That's going to affect your tracking. So, and it will affect the way the steering wheel rotates and returns to the center. Because remember, the whole hub pivots on that ball joint. So if that ball joint is moving around, it's going to affect your geometry. Not good. And that you will notice tire wear because of that. Craig, I must be lucky. My blacktop Zetec Turbo had never had an oil sweat, and it's had a very hard life. Probably very lucky then, Craig. I mean, there's always bad ones and good ones, but you know, I think it's the run of the luck, really. Zetec cam covers are a bugger. You need to use a non-setting seal like Hermatite blue. I've got I use Hylamar blue, and the OG Ford gasket. Yeah, I think I put a cheap gasket on it, to be fair, because I mean, I put a reasonable one on because I think it was a BGA one that I put on because obviously I bought it to do the job for Jason. I put a BGA one on, which is fine, no problems with them. And yet this one doesn't seem to seal very well. So yeah, I think I'm going to come back to that. I'm probably going to get a genuine rocker cover gasket and a little bit of High Lamar blue on the inside. I'll do that properly. The problem is, I think I need a new cam cover because the cam cover has got cracks around where the nuts are. And that's not why it leaks, by the way, but it looks like where the bolts go through, you've got metal collars. And what's happened is a couple of the collars have rusted and expanded, and it's cracked the plastic around the collars. So that's something that I've seen before, actually. Tony, you're a lot quicker to change the forearm as it needs a bush or ball joint. Yeah, it's a lot quicker. That's another job I've got to do on this, probably off camera because I have actually filmed this job that you're going to see on 50 Shades, but those bottom arms I'm going to have to change. Melee is a good one. Melee, yeah, that's what I've pronounced it as. Melee, that's the name. Delphi is a good name as well for bottom arms, strangely. Moog is a good name. Don't buy Febby Bilston arms for some reason. I have put Febby Bilston arms on Ruby, but that's because there's only a few suppliers that supply them for that car, and I've had to go for them. There's no other choices. It was either that or Quinton Hazel, and Quinton Hazel buy their stuff from anywhere. Then it's not the same name that it used to be back in the day. There's a lot of Chinese rubbish. So change the whole thing. Halfway through, turning the air balloon, cursing myself for not doing the job. Well, we all learn from that. We all learn, don't worry. Restoration of the rear subframe is a challenge and adventure. Bushes and bolts after 20 years, kind of stubborn pieces. Yep, that's a job that I've got to do to the estate, and I only have to do it to one arm because one arm's been done with new bolts, so I've got to change one of the rear arms. I'm hoping to show you how to refurbish your rear suspension in situ. So i.e. I'm not dropping the rear subframe. It looks decent, but I will change everything else in situ. Starting with the rear arm, you know. I've done something to it, but I haven't changed it yet until it starts looking a bit rubbish again. But still, it will get changed with some new springs. I mean, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not going to even bother probably trying to get out with the impact gun because I know what the end result will be. I'll try. Well, I will try so you can see, but ideally, I'm going to have to just get the grinder out and cut it off. So, yeah. It will probably take 5 minutes to cut it off, to be fair. Adam Joe, hearing all the stuff you have in the busy engine bay. If you had to do any jobs like aircon condenser on a Mustang, I imagine there'll be plenty of swear words. Yeah, I'm afraid so. There certainly would be. Possibly. You never know. We'll see how it goes. It does have work. As far as I'm aware, working aircon. The aircon works brilliantly in the car. No problems at all. So I'm hoping that remains the case. But accessibility is the first thing I looked at in that engine bay when I started the cam belt job for Jason. Accessibility, big problem on that engine. I'm used to working on a Mark 1 with lots of space around the engine. Sigmas are very good like that. These are not. And you can just tell that the Sigma was designed, the Mark 1 was designed for that engine. The Zetec is a sort of afterthought, well, it's an engine that had already been established for 6 years in other Fords. And they thought, well, we've got it. We'll up the capacity because the Sigma can only go up to 1.6. We've bored it out from 1.25, 1.4 to 1.6. But now we've got a gap in the range. So the Zetec sort of Well, it was the 1.8 in the Mondeo anyway, and then you've got the 2 litre version, the bored out version, which I've got. Um, it it's not meant for this engine. The steering, I have done another power steering flush to this car, and that's on camera, and the steering is heavy. It doesn't feel, it feels good, it feels positive, it feels nice and free, the steering now, and I think it's going to need another flush in 12 months time, judging by the state of the fluid that was in there, and it's starting to go a bit dark now, but it's not horrendous. But the steering was still, it was lighter than it was when I bought the car a few months ago, but it's not quite what I want it to be. It's not as light as 50 Shades, and I've got a feeling that's not down to the rack. That's because there's just more weight at the front. You've got a heavy engine and you've got a heavy gearbox. That's a lot of weight, and you feel that going around corners. It doesn't feel quite as sprightly. I think the penalty of a cast iron block really doesn't help. So yeah, it's old hat, this engine, and it just looks like they've adapted a few things to fit it. But it still goes well, and it still looks very tidy when you give it a clean. The back of the engine, I mean, I've no doubt got to do the inlet manifold job that I've done on Nick's car and my own car, cleaning it out to make the airflow nicer into it. I've got to do that because I did take a look down through the throttle plate, which is very easy on this, and all I can see is a coating of carbon and soot. So I'm looking at it thinking, well, this is a smooth engine, but it could be better, far better. So I have got a summer job there, and it will be taking that whole manifold assembly off. Wish me luck with the amount of space down there. And I will also remove the starter motor and rebuild that at the same time, because it's right there at the back. It's a horrible position. Horrible. Bring some parts up with you when you come for the Knockhill meet, and we'll have a night in and get Mr. Ink ironed out. Well, do you know what, Craig? Actually, yeah. If we plan in advance, yeah, we could do a few things on the car. Yeah, 100%. That is if I haven't changed the lower arms at all. So, yeah, we certainly could actually. But I just have to be careful what we do, because I don't want it being immobile to the point where I can't take it to the show. Drive all the way to Scotland, wreck it in your workshop, and waiting for some new parts to come. Meanwhile, I've got a show to go to. Disaster. So got to be careful about that. So I'll think about that one. Sounds like the Knockhill meet will turn into a day of mechanical Mark 1 jobs. Well, it could do. Well, I'm going to be up there for an entire week, I think, but we'll see. We will see. I've got a list of jobs, and as I said in the video, I've got 2 years. I want to own this car for 2 years, and I want to see where we am come next Christmas. Not this Christmas, next Christmas, 2026. A lot of things could happen in that time, but I intend to own this car for 2 years, and I hope for a bit longer than that, but we'll see where we are. And yeah, there's a list, and I've already got through about a third of the list already that I needed to do straight away. The key with a Mark 1, and I will reiterate this because I do mention this in the next video, but for those who won't tune into this live stream, who just watched the video in 4 days, there's no point in buying a Mark 1 and resting on your laurels. I've seen a lot of people buy Mark 1s, and they've bought a good one. It's tidy, minimal issues, but it's so easy to go in the house thinking, I've bought a good car. You drove back nicely, and nothing wrong with this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to watch some movies. And that movie night extends over 6 months, let's say. Not literally, but the point is, it's 6 months of doing nothing or barely anything to their Mark 1 because it works. That's not what you should be doing. That's what people used to do. In 2025, if you want to buy a Mark 1 and you want to get the best out of it and have as long a life as possible and a quality ownership, day one is where you should be starting the list. That's what I was doing. I was doing to be honest, I knew that obviously I'd agree with Jason to buy the car, and I'd already bought all the parts to sort the car out within the first week, the imminent jobs, and I'd already sourced the parts. So I did my diligence there. But what you should be doing on day one is a list of everything. What's it got? Got an oil leak here. Cam belt, has that been done? All the essential bits. What are the brakes like? And getting it done straight away. Okay? And that's the best way of going about that. And then you discover more about your car. Obviously, de-rusting it, finding out what's behind the arches. We'll be doing plenty of that. And finding out what your car's like. Is there anything broken? Does anything not work? Because I want my cars to be right. I want everything to work. I want all the switches to work. If it's got something on it, I want it to be working within reason. Obviously, like Ruby, she's got the original alarm system, Moss alarm system. Is it a Moss? I think it is. And it permanently goes off. Somebody disabled it because I've got the keys and it still works to this day, but it permanently goes off. One of the sensors must have been damaged, and it were those sort of sensors that look like LED lights. They're a bit weird, those sensors, and it goes off. Now I've turned it off, but at least it functions. But I don't want it on because it doesn't obviously work in the way it's intended. The point is, I want things to work, no matter how stupid it seems, and that's what you should be doing. What will usually happen is people sit back, do nothing, then in 6 months' time, MOT, fail. Big failure list, scrap it. So you've turned what was a good Mark 1 when you bought it, and you've scrapped it after 6 months or 12 months because you didn't do anything. The problem's mounted up. You didn't really get to know your car. That's it. And as far as a car enthusiast goes, that's a no-no. You just buy a car and you start looking at the list day one. I've done that with all my cars. Ruby, 50 Shades, Beatrix, every single car, day one. And then you go from there. Sorry, Ian Engelman. There's a McGuinn 530 or meets 913C. Have a try. McGuinn. I'll write that down. Where's my pen gone? 91. Okay. I'll try that one. I'll add that to the possibility. So I could do probably upgrading to 913, especially probably 50 Shades. I'll give it a try. Most of the engine oil that goes into 50 Shades doesn't get used. It just sits there for about 6 months doing nothing. And then I have to change it because engine oil doesn't like sitting. It really doesn't. I'm going to have to sort of open the night before the meet at the workshop. So if any members need any small jobs needing done, bring your parts with you. That would be a really good idea, Craig. And we're going to have to get our dates sorted about that because that's that would be a really ideal thing, actually. There's going to be a... Oh, dear me. No, seriously, that would be amazing. If that's possible, I'm sure it will be. We will all love it, and it will be very enjoyable. No doubt. I just got to watch. I just. Well, I'll have to talk to you about that actually when this is over. But that's a great suggestion. The plans for the rest of my silver were made literally months in advance, and a full process took in 2 weeks that I allocated for it. That is, Craig, that is exactly the planning, because you did everything in 2 weeks, and you did more in 2 weeks than people have done in years with their Mark 1s. I've actually joked that I've had this car now in my possession for a month and a half. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what timelines I'm talking about. I've had this car for a month and a half now, and I have done more to it than a lot of Mark 1 owners have done in years. And that's not me exaggerating, but that's just me planning ahead and knowing exactly what they're like. And it does help. When you know what they're like, you know exactly what to look for. You know the bits automatically in my head. These bits must be changed regardless of whether they work or not at the present. Power steering switches are one of them. Keep an eye on that. That's coming up in a few videos time. You really you can't ignore things like that, because you know it's going to blow eventually. So why wait for it? You've just got to do it. If I had a ramp, I'd be able to do things a lot quicker. I do have the ability to use the ramps in my second job. Just got to find the time to get ramp space to do it. But still, it's always good to, ramp or not, if you're willing to get on the floor and you stay safe, use axle stands, you can do a lot of jobs, but you need a good back for that. And yeah, you gotta be careful of that. But planning in advance really helps. Making a list. This is for everybody who's watching this. You make a list of all the jobs you need to do. You get the parts. Work out what parts you need. Do you go genuine? Have a look at what the genuine part costs. Is it too expensive? Do you think it's critical? The critical parts, like your power steering switch, you must buy genuine. But there's other stuff like suspension bits, you can buy aftermarket. Just buy aftermarket. Wishbone arms at the front. They're about 40, 50 quid a pop. For a decent one, that's it. Buy a new pinch bolt. Add that to the list. So, yeah, ideal. Really ideal. Anybody else? Bloody hell, I've got to the end of this list. Wow. Unbelievable. Right, I'll have a drink just before the next person puts a message on. Anything else people want to ask me? This is not about my new... Well, this is about my new car, but use this time wisely. I've got another half an hour to go yet. I look really small on this screen. It doesn't look very good. I'm going to have to sort this out for the next live stream. But Craig, you've proven that restorations don't take too long. Not with planning. But like I say, not everybody has professional facilities, ramp. These things speed time up, and life is hard, and most of us work long hours, so having the energy, it's whether you're willing to do that. There are some days where I've come home and I've had no energy to do anything, but I've got to do these jobs, and I just force myself to do them. And in the end, strangely, once I've done the job and I'm probably even more exhausted, I feel so happy that I've just forced myself, and eventually it's another job done, another box ticked, and every day another job. And that's how I see it, really. Do a job on your cars every day, whether it's coming home and cleaning something. It doesn't matter. It feels like you've just ticked a box. That's the way I see it. Maguire is a brand of liquid moly. Oh, I see. So liquid moly that I'm holding. Okay. Ford uses oil change recommendation 6 months or 5,000 miles, whichever comes first, especially the crappy EcoBoost engines. I go by the rule I'm old school. So I will change the engine oil every 12 months, regardless of mileage. If 50 Shades only does 600 miles, it gets changed. If she does 50 miles, it gets changed. It doesn't matter. It is that simple. So it makes sense to not buy the most expensive oil, but you get a reasonable oil. So no, I didn't realise that McGuinn is a brand of liquid moly. Well, if it's made in Germany, I'll give that a go. Hey Brown, are you looking forward to coming up here to Scotland? Some really nice driving roads up here. Yes, I am. Absolutely. I am looking forward to it. I have not been to Scotland since I was little. I've never, I say this very politely, I've never had reason to go to Scotland. You get my drift. I have no family up there now. I used to. Um, but great grandparents. So no, it'll be nice, and it'll be nice to trace some of my roots back. Actually, strangely, I don't let on about that, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that for several different reasons. Um, I'm looking forward to actually utilizing my estate, the 2 litre Zetec lump, with the cruise control a bit more. Um, that's what I'm looking forward to. It is a far more appropriate car than 50 Shades for the job. And my argument is I think the fuel economy, now I've done a load of work and servicing, will be much better than when I first bought the car. I won't let on about the fuel economy until the first episode comes out, but put it this way, there's lots of improvement to be had, but I think it will use less fuel than a 1.6 auto on motorway speeds because it's less strain on the engine. And I think the gearbox enjoys the 2 litre engine. I do think a 2 litre auto is better than a 1.6 auto in terms of the gearbox feeling a bit more at home. Adam, maybe it's a confidence or safety thing, but currently I'm preferring to do work on my car's from above. Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, I knew what you meant. I'm probably scared of going underneath with axle stands. I know what you mean. People think, well, you've got to understand, what happens if something gives way. There's no need to worry if the tyres are attached to the wheels. I generally do, I think along the lines of, right, I'm going to use axle stands because I'm going underneath. But is it necessary, whatever job I'm doing, is it necessary to take the wheels off? If not, keep the wheels on. Because you're effectively creating another barrier, okay? I'm like a twig, I'm a thin fella. I will not get crushed unless it's, a bloody Mazda MX-5 on the floor for a start, it'd have to be a lowered one for a start. So nothing's going to crush me, but it will crush, it's different for everybody. So I sometimes forget that myself. So you've got to raise it up enough, but at the end of the day, just do what jobs you feel that you can comfortably do. I think the most awkward job that I've done on a Mark 1 is, even with axle stands, going right underneath the centre of the car and undoing a handbrake cable. Now, my whole body was underneath the car, and the car was literally that close away from my face, and I'm just undoing that handbrake cable out of those damn clips. And the feeling of, if this car goes, I'm dead. And I understand that feeling. It's not nice. But just plenty of axle stands, bricks, some extra tyres, anything that is a barrier to stopping the car collapsing on the floor, on you. And you will not have any problems, okay? And if you really, I personally say this, I've got 2-ton axle stands, but what I'm hoping to do soon is upgrade to 3 tons, because that's a massive safety factor. Just have axle stands that are rated way above for the car. You will never be crushed, ever. Trust me. Just mount them carefully on the chassis legs, or probably on the chassis legs. Never have a problem. Craig, in the 2 weeks it took me to do the silver, I was doing 2 days in the unit, 1 night at home for a rest, but I did refurbish the subframes ahead of time to make sure that it was a bit easier. That's what I do a lot, Craig. If I can do jobs pre-hand, then I will. You might have noticed in a lot of videos I've done, I pre-prepare before the video. You're going to see a few actually where I've done a lot of work beforehand, so you see the important bits. I don't really show myself preparing anything. Like, I don't know, inlet manifold, when I cleaned all that out, you didn't see me cleaning it. I just cleaned it out with tissue, and cleaning's cleaning, you know. I don't need to show that, but the prep work does, it helps. It really does help. But taking rest, yes, actually, you mentioned that. Please rest. There's no, I mean, I speak about working on cars when you're tired, but don't work on cars when you're really, really tired, because that's when serious accidents happen. Always have a breakaway. I like to have one day away from the cars and maybe just sat in front of the computer. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Bangers and Cash recently. I don't know why. I think I think a lot of the vehicles are overpriced, put it that way, for the estimations, but it doesn't matter. It's something decent to watch. I don't like the narrator. I don't know if anybody else watched Bangers and Cash, but I find the narrator the most annoying twat in the history of television. He's just so patronising, it's untrue. And that's my breakaway from working. And yeah, it's car related because I'm a car person. I don't switch off from that, but I can switch off from working on the cars. And then you come back and it's all quite fresh in your head, really. Sometimes I need a day where I just need to sort of sit down and plan what I'm doing next. So yeah, it's really good to have that break, even if it's for a day or so. Just don't make that break last about a year or so, because what people have a habit of doing, especially with project cars or classic car restorations, is they do so much work, they hit a couple of stumbling blocks and they think, do you know what, I need to give this a break. Sensible. Take a few days off. They take a few days off, and then that few days becomes a few weeks, then a few months, and then another few months. And suddenly the car's been left for 12 months and no one's touched it because the momentum has stopped. That is what I fear if I don't keep doing little jobs, because it's very easy to just stop. You know, it's lovely not working on cars half the time, but I've got to do it. And sometimes projects get halted because people just stop. Other things happen, real life happens, kids, family, whatever. And then suddenly the momentum is lost, the plan is lost, and sometimes it's hard to get going again. There's that factor as well. Adam, same. I'm looking forward to Scotland and enjoying some A and B roads, even though we will be on a lot of motorways. Yes, same here. Don't worry, I'll join the club on that one. Craig, I have had a car come off a jack on top of me. Oh dear. Yes, not fun at all. Presumably that is, oh, come off a jack. You mean the jack collapsed? Yeah, you don't, yeah, I presume the jack collapsed, or is it slipped off the jack? Gosh. I slide the wheels under the sills. Very good. Even when using axle stands as an added safety measure. Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple of spare wheels hanging around. If I'm doing some sort of job, I will use them. Craig, I met the Mathesons at Knockhill last year. The older guy who does the auctioneering is a nice guy to speak to. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable, isn't he? He knows his stuff. The Mathesons, do they do a bit of motor racing? I gather. I'm sure they've got their own cars, so yeah, I'm not surprised about that. They've got their hands in that a little bit. They all do auctioneering from what I see now. It's fascinating. There's not many businesses that have been quite successful in the world of motoring, and they seem to have done very well over 50 odd years. That doesn't take lack of effort, put it that way. But yeah, I will have to go to Matheson's auctions at some point. The problem is I'm going to have to go when I'm actually bankrupt, because that's the only way I can guarantee that I'm not going to buy anything. That's a big problem. I've got to the end of the comments again. I haven't actually been to a classic car auction in many years. So probably a box to tick. I'd love to do a bit of YouTube videoing actually. If the site are absolutely fine. I think plenty of YouTubers have done their own YouTube videos on auctions. Anglia Car Auctions is another one. I might go to one and just see if they'll let me film, and I'll probably film the cars coming through, etc. That'd be nice. And maybe, yeah, well, we'll see if I'm bankrupt or not. It depends on that. At this rate, I might be. We've got to the end of the chat a little bit, but yeah, if you've got anything else to ask, please ask me. But the Scotland meet at Knockhill is going to be very, very good for the club. It branches out to every member in Scotland. Everybody is, no one's forgotten. And I'm trying to branch the club out, and I aim to do something in Europe at some point. That's going to happen, but I'm going to try and have to make it happen before it's impossible to drive your car around. And I've got a feeling that the Mr. Inc., the estate, may be going abroad. 50 Shades is different. That car, I'm afraid, will only come out not many times a year. And that is my absolute, mollycoddled car. And for that reason, I have to be very careful about how it goes. This year, she won't come out much this year, deliberately, just because my priorities are very much on the estate, getting that car vastly improved as the year goes on. There will be some jobs on 50 Shades, one of which is coming up very soon. And there'll be another job, but there aren't too many jobs with that car, if I'm being honest. And I'm currently doing both of them, but one of them didn't go very well, sadly. You'll find out more about that soon. And Ruby, getting Ruby working even more, and I need to take Ruby out very soon and get her on the motorway, because I'm only then will I know that my engine rebuild job has truly gone successfully, that it can hold its own at high speed. I'm sure it can, there's no problem, but you just don't know until you put extreme strain on the engine. You need to really push it. So yeah, that'll be interesting. So those are the priorities this year, and it'll be interesting. The other meets obviously will incur one in Wales. There'll be one in the Midlands, one up north, and one down south. So everybody will be getting a chance to go to a Mark 1 meeting throughout the year, and I'll be there all 5, because that's how I've planned it. It's going to be great. It will bring people that have not actually turned up to a meet. Some people who may not be very, I don't know, skeptical, or just shy, or who haven't really had the confidence to sort of join in with the group. I know people are a bit shy about that sort of thing, but there's really nothing to be shy about. You just turn up with your car. We're not alien beings, and we're not going to assassinate you. Unless you have a modified car, then I might assassinate you, but I'm joking. But yeah, it's a good opportunity for people to come together, and it will hopefully stretch the club out a little bit. And the other thing is to make sure that there's more venues that learn of the club's name, so that the name of the club grows in reputation, and that venues want us back, and that the name spreads, because we're very small and known but unknown in many circles. So if there's any opportunity that members have to spread the club name and promote what we do, please do, because I think there's an awful lot of people still out there who aren't really in touch with social media, that don't know about the club, who have a Mark 1, who may enjoy cars a bit more than the average Joe Blogs. They are a car enthusiast. So yeah, we try and branch out a little bit. Adam, Just on another topic, just wanted your opinion. I wonder if a Mark II Focus will start to get the interest and following we have. No, absolutely not. Mark twos will never be as popular as Mark ones. It's the old adage of everything beyond a Mark one of a particular car. It wasn't quite as good as the original. Now I'm not rose tinted about Mark ones because Mark twos are more firmer and pointier and certainly dynamic, and the Ford Kinetic design language was superb on the facelift Mark II. Facelift Mark IIs are going to be very popular in the future. There are certain specs like Zetec S's for a start. They're very rare, and I think they will be. I think they will be more collectible in the future, and that they will recruit an interest. But they'll never be quite a Mark One because there's something very naturistic to a Mark One, sort of almost virgin-like about a Mark One. It's got this sort of natural innocence to its driving. You know, it's untempered. It hasn't been messed about with by 20 million engineers and committers. It was designed purely by one team, and it feels it. So no, I don't feel Mark IIs are going to get the following because it just doesn't look as good as a Mark One. If it's a facelift, Mark IIs look good, but it's about revolution, and I think Mark IIs were great cars for their time, but Mark Ones as a classic, as a modern classic, will always get more interest. As a car, the Mark II is a more complete product actually, but that's as a car to the Joe Bloggs buying public. When it's viewed as a modern classic in the car community, that's different. We don't look at things like that. We look at things like, you know, how they appear, how they drive, and what are they like to maintain. And I certainly think that things like Mark II speedometer clusters failing, well, that won't cause a problem in a Mark 1, but in a Mark II, it causes the car not to start. And I just think things like that are going to catch up with Mark IIs pretty badly, apart from those who are determined to keep them working. The only Mark IIs that, for me at the moment, that are going to accrue to any sort of interest, sadly, are the usual RSs and STs. Anything else is not quite there. It should be, but it won't be. We won't assassinate you, don't try and park an electric Hyundai in beside us. Yes, well, we know all about that. I remember that particular event at the Motorist where somebody clearly didn't really see this line of Mark 1s, and they saw a little tiny gap in there and a cone. So the gap was kind of at the end, but the cone was to the right of the gap, and that was meant for 2 extra Mark 1s to come in if there were any late entrances. But this electric vehicle, this Hyundai, decided to park on the left-hand side of the cone, not the right-hand side, and they didn't even park backwards. They parked facing inwards, so they were just somebody visiting. And then, yes, they were kindly told to move. Yeah, they spoilt the line a little bit. Actually, you did catch that in the video. If you watch the video back, there's actually a car in the way. It broke up the line of Mark 1s. So there was 2 Mark 1s, then another car, then the rest of them. And this random car was just stuck in between the rest of us. I just like, what are you doing? Anyway, that won't happen this year. Cozzy, we used to refer to the Mark II Focus as the Fat Focus. Lots of customers still preferred the Mark 1 over them, and that was when the Mark 2s were new. You know, the Mark 1, it's a good point. The Mark 1 price, actually, at the time was far cheaper because they were trying to offload them, and that made it even harder to sell Mark 2s, I imagine, because you've got the price factor and the fact that probably the looks, yeah, it didn't do it. I would certainly buy an 05 Focus over an 05 Focus. Well, you could get a 54 plate Mark II. They're quite rare. They're quite. I tell you something actually. If you want a collectible Mark II Focus in the future, like an S-Reg Mark 1, a 54 plate Mark II, because they would have only been out a few months from launch. So they would be quite collectible in good condition. That's really that. But I wouldn't trade it. You know, Mr. Ink is a 54 plate, and it was manufactured 2 months before, a month or so before the launch of the Mark II. I'd have that any day over a Mark II. I don't like the look of the estates on Mark IIs, to be honest. When you are up in Scotland, you have to drive the test route Ford used to develop cars in the 90s. It's not far from Knockhill. I don't know about that, so I'll have to give that a try. I'm not sure where that is. I'm sure Craig will probably know that, but I certainly don't. But I can believe that because of the driving roads up there. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's not just it's not just the driving roads. There is a known fact that most of the world's best racing drivers, whether it's rally or Formula One or anything else, come from Scotland or Finland or Sweden. There's a reason for that. Adam, my Mark 1 being an 05 must have been on the cheap deal when considering a Mark 2 was unsound. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends. It would either be the cheap deal or the customer who bought your car just wanted a Mark 1. They just appeal even back then. I honestly believe that if they'd kept the Mark 1 in production longer, even though the Mark 2 had come out, I think it would have still sold very handsomely in 2005. I honestly think that the Mark 1 could have gone on another 12 months and still sold very strongly. I think by 2005, it would have been considered old hat in the interior. The interior department probably looked a bit aged by 2005. I think it probably did need a spruce up. But I think another 12 months. And other parts of the world proved it really with the Focus. It needed another 12 months. And I think continuing it to 2005 was a bit premature, I think. But because the Mark II had come out, you know, it had to be done. But that didn't stop other parts of the world continuing to use them and make them. Scotland gave a lot of great inventors and engineers. Yeah, but Scotland is very famous for a lot of things, more things, and so yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. There's quite a few things. There was actually a joke. Actually, oh god. Well, I used to be a fan. I used to watch tennis quite a lot, and there was a bit of a joke about Andy Murray. And that would be when Andy Murray was successful, he was a fantastic British tennis player. But when Andy Murray wasn't winning and he was getting injured, he's one of them Scottish tennis players. You know, it was that old joke. Basically, when he's rubbish, he's Scottish. But if he's successful, we want to know him. He's British. Absolute joke. So I'm sure Scottish people will find that quite factual. Actually, it's quite true. Anything that is successful, the English want a bit of that success, so we call it British. You know, Colin McRae is a British legend. Well, he isn't. He's a Scottish legend, not a British legend. You know, two differences. Just the English trying to claim on something. I had the ST170 up there for a drive today. Great roads and great scenery. Perfect. That's what it's all about. And great driving roads will bring the best out in the ST170. I've got a feeling that Mark II suspension was actually relatively based on an ST170 because of the firmness. But they kept some of the comfort there. They added a bit of comfort, basically. There's no factual proof of that, but I just feel it whenever I've driven an ST170, I've driven a Mark II, so I kind of feel that there was something there. Yeah, it's safe to say we can drive up here. It's no coincidence that the McRae estate is 20 minutes on my house. You're joking, I didn't realise you were that close, actually. I didn't realise that. Yeah, what a legend. Absolutely. And if it wasn't for McRae's heroics in the World Rally Championship, you know, the sad thing is about Mark 1s is that If McRae had not had an accident in 2001, it would have been number one. It would have won the World Rally Championship, which is such a shame, because if it had won the World Rally Championship, it would have elevated that car to a status even greater than what it has now. I think the Mark 1 has such a fantastic status, considering it never won the WRC Constructors. That's quite a sign of a great car. It never quite achieved what sort of Escorts have used to do. But then, you know, different era, less competition. And that was when four-wheel drive wasn't a thing. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff in the World Rally Championship cars that are completely unique. The gearbox was ridiculous on them. And he actually took most of the central tunnel out. It was a ridiculous four-wheel drive system, but it worked well. 2001, a missed opportunity, but it's still fun and remembered, thankfully. There were many victories, lots of failures. They were disqualified in 99 for a water pump problem. They were using an illegal water pump not driven by the engine, an electric one, which was discovered to be kind of against the rules. And then that that allowed the Focus to drop down a bit. But for a few years it did well. After 2002, it wasn't competitive, and they kept trying and messing about with it, but it really wasn't the same car. The 99, 2000, 2001 seasons were the best, and Colin just moved on to Subaru, where again he had success. He ignored a don't cut call and clipped hidden tree stump, and over it went. Yes, yeah, that was it. That was Colin McRae all over. Absolutely no fear whatsoever. No fear. Yeah, I remember, as a kid, in that sort of time, I remember going to my grandparents, and while the first things we would be watching is the rally highlights, and my favourite driver, I had no, I didn't know what a Mark 1 Focus really was, but I liked the Focus as a car, and I thought the design with those high rear lights was really cool, and I couldn't wait to watch the rally highlights. And as soon as Colin McRae came on in the Focus, my eyes were just aghast at the screen. A 7-year-old stuck to the screen for the whole program. Those were the golden days of rallying. Superb. Fond memories, that. But yeah, we had nothing really. We haven't had there hasn't been an English rally driver who's really had success. So Colin was the closest, British wise. I've done it myself, actually. British, I didn't say Scottish. I've done it now. But yeah, it's like that. Loads of WRC Foci went to Ireland and were used for years. I didn't realise that. That's new news to me. I'm not surprised, but I didn't know that. Pretty much. Right, I'm going to kind of wrap this up because my eyes are starting to go, and I've got my notes for engine oil. I'll have a look at that in short. But there you go. I've done a bit of a live stream for once in ages. There are many videos coming up. Oh, hold on, actually. I can sort of give you a little bit of a peek, actually, on what might be coming up. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll probably go through a couple of things that I've done, just so you know what's coming. Oh dearie me. Some people don't like my new car. Apparently, I have 21 likes on the new car video, and 3 people have disliked that video. What were they expecting? A Rolls Royce? I don't know. There's some serious keyboard warriors. I want to press on about this. There is somebody who keeps on disliking every single effing video that I make. And I just want to say to that bugger, why are you watching me? What the heck are you doing? You know, you're just a fool. I'm going to say that. I'm saying that in public, live. No editing. What are you doing? You know, why are you wasting your time watching these videos? If you don't like it, don't watch me. Because I don't care a toss what you think. So the videos that are coming up, obviously day one is the next video. What am I doing on day one? What am I looking at? That'll be quite interesting. And then we go on for a load of fixes: power steering flush, PCV valve, thermostat housing, coolant flush, bottle, pipe work, all the weak points that I mentioned in that video on what to watch out for on Zetec engines that came out last month. When I last had the car, I actually put some of it to practice straight away. Replacing your pollen filter. God, that was disgusting. And doing it properly and what bits you need for it. And I actually have some really good advice in that video. It was a 26-minute video, and it's one of those videos that I should have done years ago, but I've done it properly this time. How to revive a knackered steering wheel. Now, if you saw the review video of this car, you'll know by the knackered steering wheel in the boot, which was quite hilarious because, you know, Jason likes to swap his steering wheels around. I had to, as part of the sort of deal for buying the car, Jason had bought the steering wheel, that lovely steering wheel that's fitted to the car currently. And he said, right, if you want that steering wheel, because I paid a bit of money for it, can you see if you can do something with the old one? And I thought, yeah, I'll try. And I'm telling you, you saw the video. That was a disgusting steering wheel. I'll show you how to revive it. And actually, Jason can tell you, he's pretty impressed by it, and so was I. Programming a new key. Why have I got that as a Premier? No. Programming a complete new key to your Mark 1 using ForScan. Very easy to do, and yeah, you need to know how to do that. Because I only had one key with this car, just one key for the bonnet, one key for the rest of the car to start it and open the doors. I want two keys, at least. So I'll go through how to do that. It used to be a thing that you needed two keys to program a third key. Now with ForScan, you only need one active key. So if you buy a Focus with one key that starts the car, don't panic. You need ForScan and the adapter, and you can do it yourself. You can just get another key and program another key. It was actually mostly a second-hand key I programmed. Rust protection and all that. Brakes, we're going to overhaul the entire braking system because it really honestly needs it. And a few more videos. So there you go. That's the whole list that I've covered. Yeah. Lovely. Sorry, I'll just get back to that. Craig. Richard Burns, who's British, was a fourth. Richard Burns, that was one person I actually forgot to mention there. He certainly was. What did you get? Haven't seen your video yet. Oh, I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen the video, mate. It went up a few hours ago. New car reveal is what it's called. It's on beyond my videos, so you'll see it straight away. It's got a big question mark over it, so I'm not going to say anything more than that. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it now. All right, because I'm going to end this live stream now, so you go and watch that. So good man. I won't spoil it for you. I was born and raised in Scotland, but I consider myself British. Yeah, I think that's kind of I've actually talk about feeling British. I actually had to get some new registration plates made for the estate, and I've got some plates made now because obviously we used to have the Euro flag. I hate that thing. Oh my god, it looks disgusting, that Euro flag. I'm glad we don't have to have those EU flags on them, because the one thing I would never say is I'm European. I'm British, I'm not European. I've never thought that. Even when we were in the EU, I'm British. I'm not European. I don't identify as a European, and I hate the flag. Now what I've done is I've got the British flag on Mr. Ink's registration plates, because I don't have the original dealer ones, and the ones on the car were awful. So I've now got some British flags made up on the number plates, all legal, and they look amazing. They really do. Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't see any cars with the British flag on it. In fact, I never say legally you can have the English flag on your registration plates or the Scottish. I see a couple of ones with the Scottish flags on, but I don't see any with either the British flag or the English flag. It's like people are scared of being British. Like they cannot have that flag attached to anything. It's almost like a racist thing. I don't know why, but there seems to be an association with racism as soon as you put the British flag on something. Well, I'm proud to put that on my car. I'm very proud. So, and disregard, yeah. It's midnight there. I will not keep you. I will disregard the dislikes for good. Well, it's there, and it's just, I thought I would say this if that person is, I don't think it is, because that person won't be watching this live stream, but quite frankly, it's just, why are you watching me? I used to get lots of haters in the early days. You know, when you're starting out and you get the haters. And now I don't care about the haters because, you know, I've got too many busy things to be doing, you know, rather than that. It's just something I've noticed. I notice everything. Everything on YouTube feeds back to me, likes and dislikes and everything. And I know what people like to see. I know like what people would like to watch, which is why I've kind of streamlined what I do on YouTube now. But in some respects, I couldn't care a toss, because if I really want to make a video and I find it interesting, I'll make a video. Even if 50 people are only going to watch it, I don't care, because it's what I want to make. There's some videos that would get me, you know, lots of views, but I don't really want to do them. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't motivate me. Anyway, yeah, I'll try and ignore the haters, Adam. Well, they certainly do have too much time on their hands. I haven't got much time. I ain't got enough time to look at them. But I'm not going to do anything about it, am I? Just wanted to agree on the safety. Absolutely. I mean, you could get 4-ton axle stands. It's a bit overkill. But ideally, you want the ones with the pins that go all the way through. So ideally, so. We have a name for people that can't bring an issue to your face. Shite bag. Yes, I know. Yes, I'll pretty much say the same thing. Well, I just run a car channel. I am simply someone who I've got some cars. I've got some jobs that need to be done on them. Come on a journey with me, and you might learn a thing or two. Some people seem to have a problem with that. Not quite sure why, but you know. What I do incorporate in all my videos, and what I have placed an emphasis on, and will continue to do so, is how to do things for yourself. Because I now professionally teach this, the car maintenance courses that I teach, people from all over the Midlands go to the place where I teach these lessons, because there aren't many places that can do evening courses. And I value what I do in that job, and a lot of what I do is based off what I teach on my YouTube channel, and I've used it in that job. But equally, because of that job, I'm finding that I'm making videos that are almost a carbon copy of what I actually do in that job. and what I actually teach, the content of my lessons. So it's very much the same thing as me talking to you guys now. It's the same sort of advice, but the difference is I'm talking to car enthusiasts. I'm not talking to people who just have a car and want to save some money. I think that's the only difference in the audience. So I can be very geeky on here and be probably myself more or less. Anyway, and when you find a good motor oil, stick with it. Well, I have a good motor oil, and it's Manor engine oil. Yeah, it's this stuff. Energy. This is the number 7511. API SNCH4 ACEA A3B4. A3B4 is quite good actually. Just it's technicalities. Shelf life 5 years, but it meets. I'll tell you what it meets actually. Oh no, hold on. Sorry, I'm looking at it wrong. For WSS M2C 913B BMW LL98 VW Renault. Well, there's quite a few actually. But yeah, that's what I use. I've used it for a long time, and that seems to be my standard oil. Never had a problem with it. It's cheap. It's not dead cheap, but it's cheap enough. And I think it's because Manor have got a fantastic distribution system, and therefore their products can be a few quid cheaper. I've personally never had an issue with it, but I'll always see what else is out there. I'm not going to. I seem to be a bit behind with the comments actually. I think things are a bit slow. God, this screen is really delayed. But anyway, yeah, so on a final note on that one, you can just try some engine oils out, but as long as they meet the spec, it's absolutely fine. Anyway, I'm going to leave you all for now. That's really all I wanted to say. Yeah, so lots of new videos coming up. And in the end, yes, a terrible thing happened with Beatrix, and I'm gutted, you know, and I'm still reminded of that when I see a very clean 45 occasionally. But I have to remember the car I've got. And this is actually a question that was put to me by a very close friend of mine now. If you could go back, so from where I'm sitting now and what you've done with this new car, would you, if you had the chance to go back and save Beatrix and forget that you've done all of what you've been doing the last few months with this new car, would you do it? No. I would actually keep the car I've got, given that choice. I think it's a better car for my needs because of the practicality, the fact that it's very closely aligned with what I do with the Preservation Club. I keep saying, I was going to say group, it's a club. I keep mouse dropping that. And it's very, it's just the right time for what it needs, for what I need to do. So for now, it looks like I'm on the right path. In the long run, no idea. Because the problem is now is the world of motoring is changing so much, and the price of cars obviously have gone up. We're still uncertain about what the future holds with EVs. I mean, the government are trying to force every agenda 2030 on us. And the more they keep doing that, the more I think I want older cars, not younger ones. So whatever they intend to do, I intend to do the opposite. They cannot tax me off the road, and they will not, because I'm determined to not let that happen and to enjoy the cars that I want to own. Not cars that, quite frankly, I'm not as bothered or interested in, and that's most things beyond 2005. You know, it'd be very easy for me to say I could just buy a Fiesta Mark 7. The problem is with Fiesta Mark 7s is they don't interest me because they're everywhere. They're great cars, don't get me wrong, and they're definitely going to be future classics, but they're everywhere. They just don't smack of anything special to me at this moment in time. And I like cars with just a little bit of glimmer, just a little bit of glam, something really that touches the heartstrings a little bit, and that car does that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you be, rambled on too much, and I shall see you in a future episode some point. So thanks to everybody for joining. I am now going to end this manufacturer's stock. Oh, sorry. Starting to backpedal on the E50. Yeah, I think manufacturers are starting to backpedal a little bit. I don't know, because we keep, wasn't it 2030, then they put it to 2035, then 2040, then 2035, then 2030, and now they're going to go back to 2035. They keep on sort of veering, but the meantime is 2025. You know, it was 2016 they announced all this. 9 years later, we're a bit closer, aren't we? So where are we going with this? What I do know is that in 2030, we're still going to be driving around in petrol cars, because there's nothing's going to change. It's hilarious to see how it's panning out. And what I've been told as well, because I know two people on the mobility, they've got mobility cars. They're now trying to force EVs on you through mobility. In fact, you cannot have a mobility car in some areas unless it's an EV. How about that? So if you want if you're entitled to a mobility car, you have to have an EV. Joke. What a joke. Anyway, you stick with your 02 ST170, my friend. Oh, yes, and your 92 Merc 300. Very nice indeed. Right, everybody, on that note, we all stick with our old gas guzzlers and my 2 litre Firstonomic. Yes, I should call it the Firstonomic. Take care, guys. See you very soon.